about what the show is about, and we'll be starting in a little bit. And
Okay.
let me just go ahead and share this. We'll look for comments in the YouTube. And I'm going to put this on. So if you get an email, you'll be able to click on and get the link this way later as a replay also.
Oh no. I'm going to stay in chat for a minute till Tom comes on. We can listen to Tom.
Okay, it is good to go. I'm going to send you guys the link to on the YouTube. So if you want to be on this email list, you can. So let me just go to YouTube and send this. Looks like here it is. Okay. There's a link to join us every week. So really cool. Jen and I, we're always looking for more stuff, what can help people get their health back and get their lives back. And I remember there's Baden. Yep, there's Baden. Good job, dude. And Baden's teepee is in the back. And so there's a book called Nutrition and Physical Degeneration, and it's by Weston A. Price, a dentist from the 1930s. And he found, he went around the world every year. His wife was the nurse, and they traveled around to see what was going on, how indigenous people were eating, and if it was if everybody was getting cavities like they were in the U.S. back then and having all sorts of crooked teeth that needed orthodonture or not. And he found, I think it was 14, it might have been 11 indigenous cultures around the world that were doing really well. And some of the people that were doing the best were the ones that were near the sea at eating lots of fish with cholesterol, like the crabs, the lobster, the oysters, the scallops, that sort of thing. And so so he started investigating, and okay, and one of the things that is in all those is cholesterol, and another thing that's high in those kind of foods is iodine. So Jen and I have been looking at it and researching it, and we've heard about it for a while, but we heard even more stuff recently about what the levels are that are really important for health. So we're going to be talking to Tom Giammatteo, my friend and colleague and teacher for many years, chiropractor, naturopath, acupuncturist, and one of the co-developers of integrative manual therapy, the medical intuitive model that I've used for many years. So he'll be on at in about 5 minutes, and I'll see if Jen has anything to say so far.
Yeah, we were listening to Del Bigtree. We really enjoyed his show and his reporting. And he was covering the coronavirus. And he had Dr. Brownstein on. And Dr. Brownstein was talking about some different things to do to, protocols for making your body less susceptible to disease in general, but also to the coronavirus specifically. And one of the things he talked about was iodine levels being so low, across America. I think I began reading his book, and I think he said when he started testing iodine levels, and he has a specific test he does where he puts in a certain amount of iodine, and then he sees what percentage comes out in the urine. And in most people, their bodies need so much of it that a low percentage comes out, and really about 90 to 95% should come back out. And he was finding that about, very high levels of everyone he screened thousands of people in his practice, and other people were screening elsewhere as well. I'm finding similar results that I think it was around 96% of people were significantly deficient in iodine. So and it just sounds like it has a big effect on thyroid health, of course, and energy levels and brain fog, and then immune function.
And IQ.
IQ, yep. It is, I think the World Health Organization had said in there that it says that the leading cause of preventable mental retardation is low iodine levels. So some pretty interesting stuff, and just sounds like one of those base building blocks for overall good health. It's so important that we're missing now because of depletion in our soils, also toxicity in our environment, can drain the body of iodine. Yeah, so lots of factors, but something important it sounds like to be looking at. So we're learning more about it. I'm excited to hear what Tom has to say about it.
And I'm excited because, as a lot of you know, I had a big issue with fluoride.
Yeah.
And one of the things that, the big thing that got me over it was, one, drinking spring water and getting off of San Diego City water, even the filters weren't working to get fluoride out. And the other thing that really got me back to where I could run again, and I didn't have bone pain or depression anymore, which is a cause of, is something that, a symptom of fluoride toxicity, was using boron, the mineral boron. It's found in borax, and you use it with a little magnesium, and it binds to
a very specific protocol. Though.
Yeah, and it clears the fluoride out of the body. And so what we found is iodine is a halogen like fluoride, and that binds to the thyroid and other parts of the body, and that iodine can replace it and detox out fluoride. So I'm excited to see what else can shift. And right now there's a lawsuit in Northern California in federal court to get fluoride out of the water, which is cool, because recently the Journal of American Medical Association posted a study that showed that fluoride increases, lowers IQ, the same amount as lead. So lead we took out of the gasoline, and it was, we don't want lead in the environment for the children because it lowers IQ. Well, fluoride lowers IQ at the same level. And so there's no reason health-wise to put fluoride in the water. So it's exciting that in Northern California in federal court in April, it's going to go to court and hopefully get it out of our water. Like it's out of the water in Israel now, and a lot of Europe and a lot of Canada. So it's good to quit putting toxins in like that. And so iodine is one of the remedies. So I'm excited to get Tom on. He should be on any second. He told us at 10:20 our time. And so any second he'll be on. If you're on YouTube live and you have a question about fluoride, yeah, and iodine protects the thyroid from radiation. So I know this is a good book. It's a really good book, Misty. Yeah. And we just want to confirm it all up with Dr. Tom, and we might, we're going to reach out to Anna Heed and see if she, another naturopath, and hear what she thinks about this, and basically get everybody all the information that we can find about iodine.
The other thing that I found interesting was that it is related to iodine levels can affect breast cancer, prostate cancer, like kind of those types of tissues. I'm trying to think what other, thyroid, of course, but I thought that was, and ovaries.
Yeah, it sounds like a miracle thing.
Yeah.
In fact, Dr. Brownstein, he says it's the most important thing to consider with health, and he studies a lot of different conditions and helps a lot of people with. He's an MD and also does holistic stuff mostly. So he's a really cool guy. He's got a book about salt and nutrition and gluten-free and sugar-free. And so good resource, Dr. David Brownstein. So let's see when Dr. Tom Giammatteo is on. I hope he said, okay, go check the phone.
Yep.
He couldn't get on last week for some reason. He was trying, and I'm not sure what that's about. Let's see what Misty has to say. Okay, let me get you the title. It's this is the book of Dr. Brownstein, Iodine, Why You Need It, Why You Can't Live Without It. And it's David Brownstein, MD. I'll go find his thing too. Dr. Brownstein, iodine. Yeah, we're going to reach out to him and get him on our show, hopefully. He's a cool guy. He was great on the highway with Del Bigtree. Here's his link. Okay, so let's see. if Tom is coming on yet. So no message yet. Oh, there he is. Okay. No, he's not there yet. Ah. Thanks for hanging in there with us. You're welcome, Misty. Yeah, we're going to be doing a big, really cool event with Misty. If you don't know Misty Flowers and Misty Flowers music, you should check her out. But we're going to be doing a big thing to help the children pretty soon. And speaking of children, where is Dr. Tom? Someone that cares a lot about children. Well, might be a very short show because we could talk about iodine, but I really want to hear what these guys have to say.
Yeah, it's kind of newer on our radar, and
Mama.
one of the other things he said was that iodine in salt, it has been somewhat helpful in the past. Like it helped prevent goiter way back in the day when they first started noticing low levels, especially in areas like the Midwest that didn't have, on the coast, we have natural sources of iodine coming in through the air and from the sea and things like that. And you have access to seafood and all of those things. And, but really it's not very bioavailable in salt. And there are also some other issues with it as far as, I think just, I forget what he said, shoot. But
It just
sounds
doesn't
like it's
absorb
not,
in as
yeah,
well.
it's not the best source.
And we want to talk to them about, one reason I want to have a few different naturopaths on is we even realized we have a couple here in Bellingham we want to talk to, but I just want to make sure, because from my research, when I was looking at it, it's like there is a potential for too much iodine, and it can cause an issue with the thyroid, the hyperthyroid, the Graves condition. So we just want to find out about that, because Dr. Brownstein is recommending higher levels than the recommended daily allowance. It's cool. He's a doctor, MD, so they have a little more leeway to say stuff like that. But we want to find out from a few people and see what's going on. But if we can't get him on now, he didn't get on the phone, huh?
Again,
Go
I
check
hope he's
again.
not having problems. I know that was frustrating, I'm sure, last week.
Yeah, this is a little weird. But at the very least, you can go check out Dr. Brownstein's book, Iodine, Why You Need It, Why You Can't Live Without It. David Brownstein, MD. And yeah, really cool guy. The book actually comes with a DVD. So so good ways. Oh, here he is. All right, so Tom is here. And let's get him on. Unmute.
Hi.
Okay. Aiden, you ready?
Hi, Aiden.
I think we need to have Tom show himself on video. Promote to panelist.
Hi, guys.
Okay, should be rolling soon. There's Tom.
Hi, Tom.
Hi, everybody.
Oh, let me do.
Hi, guys.
Good to see you. Okay. Yeah, we've been telling people about what we've been finding in the world of iodine. So I thought, oh, let's find out what's going on with you. It's one of the things that that I thought back when I was before I got sick with the fluoride poisoning and all that. My friend Joe, who you know, Joe from Portland, now from he said, oh, you should talk to Dr. Tom. Talk to Tom about the Kangen water machines. And I thought, oh, no big deal. I'm going to get it anyway. But I wish I would have talked to you back then, because I would have had a lot of that could have saved me a lot of grief. So when I found out about we've been reading this guy's book, and we heard about it from Del Bigtree, iodine, and he recommends pretty high doses of iodine, but it made a lot of sense to us. So I thought I want to just reach out to you and ask you what your thoughts on iodine are, and how best to test for deficiencies and concerns about too much, and just anything you want to share.
Well, there's lots of history on iodine. And if you look at a lot of different factors, the RDA of iodine is something that happened when we started moving west away from the oceans in the United States.
Oh,
If we stayed coastal and ate seafood and seafood products, food from the sea, and those products, you would get enough iodine in your system. And it started when we started to move inland, especially to like the Great Lakes area and the Chicago area and the western area, people started developing this big swollen neck called a goiter. And a goiter is lack of iodine in your food system. So your thyroid actually gets bigger and bigger to try to, it's working so hard, it gets muscles to it and it gets enlarged. So the RDA of the US government is to prevent a goiter. So that's the bare minimum iodine you need in your diet in order to prevent a goiter, but it doesn't mean it's the healthy end of having iodine in your life.
that makes sense.
And that's where iodized salt came from, Morton's iodized salt. And so in the early 1900s, they started iodizing the food so that we'd have it as a food substitute in the iodized salt component of it. You know, if you took Morton's iodized salt or any iodized salt, it actually has other chemicals in it which aren't very healthy and really mess up our microbiomes and our gut motilities and everything that we have there too. So it was a good system to put iodine in, but now it's almost pathological that you get poisoned from the iodized salt in other ways at the same time.
Okay.
And iodine is very important as a micronutrient to the production of a lot of different enzymes and a lot of different pathways in the body. So
Wow.
I really like working with iodine. And the other controversy of it is if we're not getting appropriate amounts of iodine in our diet, we may take on radioactive iodine. And iodine has a very high sensitivity to radiation in the air and in the pollutants. And you know, the nuclear accident that happened in Japan 4 to 5 years ago is still showing up, having pollutants of radiation in the air and making more of our land iodine and our food iodine more susceptible.
I think they're still dumping stuff in the ocean from what I heard.
Yep, and the animal and the seafood is actually picking it up. So one of the nutritional philosophies that I felt and have seen over the years of study is that if you don't have a good iodine or if you don't have a good product, the body's going to take the next best thing to it. So if we had really healthy iodine for the body to choose from and non-healthy iodine, and you didn't get any good iodine, it's still going to take the bad iodine. And the same principles, I believe, go through into the dairy world. You know, I feel that the 1%, 2% milks out there don't provide enough good nutrients in it. And I feel that they even make people more sick, and that could be a whole nother discussion, and not getting appropriate omega-3s from our dairy processes. But I've seen the body where if you give it actually a healthy set of iodine, you can reverse a lot of toxicities and things at the same time.
So are you saying like if the body is eating some fish, for example, that has radioactive iodine, but you're also giving it a good source of iodine, it's going to selectively go for the good iodine?
In clinical aspects, I believe that's true.
Oh, that's cool. Cool. And what about there's the different forms of iodine? Like, isn't there like iodide and iodine?
Yep, there's iodide and iodine, and again, there's different amounts of iodine that you need in the whole process. We used to get our iodine from seafood and some of the fish we used to eat. And after the last nuclear accident in Japan, we have an IMT iodine protocol where we have a very, I believe it's 12 milligrams of iodine, which is about 12,000% more of the iodine that the RDA actually recommends, but it's a very minimum dose if you look at people who eat a lot of seafood. Anyways, we have that plus potassium, plus we use a herbal or a glandular, they call it thyroid supreme, which educates the gland about how to use the iodine. So our nutritional programming actually reteaches the gland how to work and gives it the iodine and the potassium ratio so they don't deplete each other. So there is a high incidence of where you need the potassium along with the iodine for better absorption. So
something you don't want to mess around with on your own unless you're kind of like, I mean, if there's a certain amount that's good, but you don't want to just like go grab a bunch of potassium, right?
right. You know, anytime anybody wants to have a consult on that, I'd be happy to guide them
That's great.
through those pieces. So I believe our current iodine is generally about 12 milligrams, and it may go up to 15 milligrams. And in some of the studies, even in that book, I believe, if you look at coastal seafood bearing societies, their diet can go almost up to 32 milligrams of iodine in a day.
Yeah.
So that is not over toxifying somebody. That is what we should be eating if we lived on the coast and if we had the proper foods that had their proper piece. And again, when you reflect against the RDA and the US government, it looks like thousands of times, and you're almost poisoning yourself.
Yeah, so it's basically, it's kind of like when Weston A. Price studied the people that lived by the ocean and they had the best health, and they were eating lots of shellfish and
Right.
vegetables. It's kind of like getting that in a safe way.
Yes. So if you can't get it from your diet, then here's a diet substitute. So
do you need, I heard that you have to, it'd be cool to also add in a little magnesium with that. Is that something?
Magnesium is okay. And I think magnesium is another deficient mineral that we don't get. But we really found the balance between a potassium and an iodine. You know about IMT wellness supplements. They are refined to the best degree that we find these little trends that help absorb better. But it's the combination of the three herbs together: the thyroid glands support, the iodine support, and the potassium for passageways to go in there easier.
So that would be the thyroid supreme, which is the glandular one.
Yep.
And then
So we have
and then an iodine that comes with potassium.
no, we use an iodine and we use a potassium together. But you know, you were asking about testing.
Yeah, testing.
So we sell a little test vial or a roll-on that's also a therapy at the same time. And you remember the old iodine bottles that would be glass and you used to rub them on there?
Yeah.
Well, they moved to mercurochrome more than the traditional iodine, but sometimes you can find them in the drugstores, CVS and Walgreens and things like that. You can find an actual iodine tincture there. And what you can do with that is to make about a 50-cent piece either on your wrist, or I like to put it right on the hip area. And it should stay for 24 hours if you have enough iodine in your system. And the faster it disappears, it tells you the more depletion you have of those pieces at the same time.
So you might bump up the iodine a little bit.
Yep.
And,
So
go ahead. Go ahead.
but we sell an iodine liquid, which is absorbable and that you don't need to take an iodine pill. And sometimes I give for therapy, rubbing that after you do the test. You continually to do that nightly until it stays overnight. And then you take a little bit of break, and then you keep going back to it after a while. And the energies level go up, the thyroid issues go back to balance, either from hyperthyroid to hypothyroid, because the thyroid gland does make this T3 and T4 issues that they do carry a little iodine with them. And that can influence many different pieces. This weekend is winter school for me, Ralph.
Oh, wow.
And we just finished the book, and it's one of the smaller ones.
I've got 110 of those things.
Only 950 pages on the neuroendocrine system.
Wow, no wonder we're talking about this right now.
Yeah.
Holy cow. How
So
many?
we're going into the thyroid, we're going into the HPA axis, we're going into the respiratory immune endocrine system, we're going into the blood sugar immune endocrine system, we're going into the immune endocrine system. And this is the compendium of work between Sharon and I. 2/3 is old material updated, and the other 400 pages I rewrote over the last 6 months of new technology that we've had.
Wow.
Addressing
Great.
the person, the physiology, and the mind spirit component of how to work with somebody with those issues. So osteoporosis, diabetes, Hashimoto's, Cushing's, Addison, that's what we're going to be addressing this weekend.
That's cool. And do you? I think I know. I remember the answer from the back in the day. But do you have to be a practitioner to take your courses?
No, well, with the school, you can come in from a high school degree and start to be trained. The basic courses, the first level courses, there's no educational limit. You could be a mom and a dad, and sometimes we actually have parents and family members come in because they can take a course and do 50 hours worth of help work that can be done at a very sophisticated level with a little bit of training, and that helps the person get better. So sometimes I recommend a mom to come in for an immune course or a lymphatic drainage course, and then they can work through the book and do it on their own time instead of getting trained by a therapist sometimes.
And that is a great model, because for the cost of a course and 3 or 4 or 5 days of training, you can start to just take the book and just go from the beginning to the end and
Yeah.
just put on somebody and get treatment too. But that way you're not just only getting treatment from somebody else. You can be more proactive for your kid.
Well, it's we feel that there's always been too many sick people in the world, and we want to try to help people get better. So coming to one of the classes, even at 10% knowledge, is still better than whatever is out, what people can do for self-help. So usually a family member could get up to 70-80% of the knowledge just taking the class. And then we always give support on saying, let's go review that, make sure you got it right and everything else. And then there's protocols of how to follow things. There's sequences. And even if you just take step by step and you just go through, I call it the Karate Kid method, wax on, wax off.
Yeah.
Even if you just go through the protocol, it's sometimes amazing that some of those, maybe step at 5 and 6 are very profound for you. But if you start at number 1 and get to number 10, you're going to have a major change no matter what you do.
Yeah, that's been my experience. Every single class is, you could take that class no matter what you have. And if you just went through it as doing the techniques, which can seem kind of like, am I doing it right? But it's pretty, a lot of them are relatively simple, but you could have a giant change. And that was my experience with the first class, the men's and women's health issue class. Was my body just felt so good. And I had barely started doing it. I didn't even know if I was doing it right in the beginning. So yeah, that's going to be a great resource for parents, especially these days with so many kids are dealing with some really severe conditions.
It's pretty crazy out there, the conditions. And, the state of Connecticut was having the vaccination issues this past week, and we were really trying to support it. But they took out they're still in the middle of voting, but it's still looking like the politicians have a 10% advantage. So if you have any friends that want to call in Brevard, Connecticut, we're still in the decision making, but they're taking away religious rights. And it wasn't, true religion if you had the belief that you wanted to question how fast your child got vaccinated and things like that. That was also in that parameter. And they're most likely going to pass it, that they're going to take that away from Connecticut residents. So, well,
we're working on an energetic level and on all sorts of levels for that. We've been talking with Leslie, who's over there.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was big. That one pediatrician that had his testimony was compelling. He was so good. I don't know how anybody could listen to that and not completely question what they're doing, and you just start to look a little bit. So hopefully they change that. And it's amazing how you got to yeah, it's like, it's just amazing what's happening. So we're on it. We're on it. With the iodine, because that's such an important thing, but vaccine injured kids and kids with all these conditions, it's really good to know that you're there. And for somebody that wants to, and I know people that started off, women, moms who started off as just wanted to help their kid and then took some classes and took lots of classes and then got certified and then developed a healing practice that they, once they got their child well, it's an option that there's a way to help the kids get their health back. And
so about a third of the students in here are people that are not healthcare professionals looking for another career. We have bankers, we've had lawyers, we've had marketing people that just wanted to get out of their realms, and they started just trying to help their families. And they can help not the child or the person who's sick, but they can also help the rest of the family by having a massage table and spending a half hour with them and doing these light touch therapies in a proper sequence, and they seem to change the world. So
they really do. Yeah, and it happens faster now. Last week when we couldn't get you on with technical problems, we were going to talk about your golden heart thing and how things happen faster than back in the day,
Yep.
the IMT days. So that'll be cool to do another one of those. With the iodine thing, what do you think of those challenge tests where you ingest a bunch of iodine and then take a 24-hour urine thing? How is that compared? How accurate do you have to be with those kind of things before you decide how much iodine to start putting in your body?
I like the gentle method first.
The little,
the little test on the wrist, and iodine supplementation can be a little bit tricky, especially in the world of sicknesses that we have, taking oral iodine. So just even rubbing, putting a splotch on your skin and monitoring that and changing that way is the most relatively safe. And as you start to take more iodine and do the urine challenge until you see a spillover, is quite expensive for getting the urine tested at the end.
oh, it is. I haven't looked into the cost of that.
Well, I would believe it'd be at least $40 every time, but maybe $100 for the test of that whole piece, type of thing. It has helped a sect of people get better with lack of iodine deficiency in getting good iodine in. So I would like to see, if we had natural sources of healthy iodine, it's much better for the body to have that than to take in. And again, it is a micronutrient that we're always looking for. And if anybody ever develops a goiter, that they haven't had iodine in their life for a very long time, or they've been eating depleted food for such a long time along the way.
Cool. If somebody's doing it for, maybe they do the test and they can see, oh, maybe I need a little iodine. And would you recommend, is it okay for someone to take the 12 milligrams or the 50 milligrams, or should they?
Yeah, and some people on the thyroid spectrum is you have to listen to your body after you're on it. And this is my philosophy with most of the supplements, especially in the integrated manual. The line that I've produced is they're 90% plant-based herbs and minerals that should be found in food. Mm-hmm. So if you get an adverse reaction, and we've had successful 100 people get better on them, and this person has a reaction, it's not because they're sick, it's because they're really sick, and we have to go a little bit slower. Why should you react to corn and me not react to corn? What in your body, what made you sensitive to that? And if it's bad GMO corn, everybody should be reacting to it, right? If I get a stomach cramp from eating bad corn or GMO corn, maybe I shouldn't eat it again. That's a really good, indication of that, that process. So iodine does have some overdosing of iodine when your body can't handle it. You can have heart palpitations, you can have sweats, you can have anxiety pieces. So it is a delicate slope. So I would start with whatever is on the bottle and start with 10% of it and work your way up instead of trying to go whacking yourself with the whole suggestion.
Pay attention to your body. And is there a danger of throwing yourself into hyperthyroidism or anything?
Again, that's an individual case, and maybe 10% of your population is that super sensitive, and your other 20% may get this, maybe the miracle cure that helps them figure out all their ailments at the same time. It's always hard to make that judgment.
It'd be good to get a consult with you.
Yeah.
And we have a question from Misty. Can you explain nascent iodine? NASCENT. NASCENT iodine is her question. I don't know what that is.
I have not heard of that word before, so I'm going to type it in.
Yeah, I'll Google it too. Let's see. NASCENT iodine. Detoxified iodine.
Yep.
Atomic iodine. Oh, Edgar Casey formula. Huh.
Yeah. So it comes in a lot of different forms nowadays, and I just didn't hear I don't remembering the nasty iodine. But one of the ones I've used before is iodorol, and it is one of the, you asked how many different types of iodine in there, but it is one of the iodines in that whole process. So it's also called the iodorol versus the iodine component of it at the same time. And it's really useful, and just pure iodine, like you said, doesn't go in sometimes. And nowadays with genetics, I think there is a big correlation with the MTHFR gene, and that relationship there between the two iodines and transposing one into the other, that may be useful for people to look at. But when we actually look at clients, I like to have them that we can see which iodine is more absorbable to the client. So we do, this pulse testing from Chinese medicine, which we call motility testing, to make sure that, we have the theory, but then we apply it with what's the body going to be able to take. So again, if you're having symptoms with it, it may not be wrong. It may just be too early to put that one in. And iodine is one of those cases where it may be the perfect answer to everything, but it may be that you may need to have your liver detox a little bit before, because if you get the iodine moving and your liver's not there, you're going to have symptoms the other way. So it is a little bit of a slippery slope to self-medicate yourself with iodine, and that's where the medical doctors always poo-poo it, like, oh, that client took 2 doses and they got sick forever. And it's not really that case. It's like, okay, we have to figure out why it got you irritated.
Yeah, like some people don't like green tea because their liver has a problem. It's just, you gotta see, and that pulse diagnosis, that motility testing that Tom's talking about, it's a way, and we can teach clients to test foods or supplements and see, does your body like it? Does it want it in your body? Can it dump it? And so that's a really cool skill to learn.
And it's been around, in Chinese medicine for 6,000 years. It's chiropractic muscle testing is another version of it. And I know even clients that have used pendulums to see which food is going to be the best for them. And all of them are valid to help people have a relationship with their food and feel better with it. We should.
I found that it's good to have a few cross-referencing systems. And like in the IMT world, you can see, does your liver like it? Does your lymph system like it? Does your heart like it? Does your brain like it? Instead of just like a pendulum, yes or no, it might be yes and no, and maybe not now. I've had things where I test it and my lymph system says, yeah, I like it. But part of it, I get an answer where it goes up 1, it goes down 2. And it's like, yeah, there's something in here it likes, there's something in here it doesn't like. So it's kind of nice to have a few systems. So it might not be just a yes or no. It might be, yeah, there's something good here, but there's something else too.
Yeah. So in the teaching of the school, when we're always asking that question, is it good for the whole system? So when we're teaching our nutrition, we actually have pulses for the brain, we have pulses for the heart, we have pulses for the liver. And when you're first learning, you go and you're actually, okay, let me look at the brain now, let me look at the heart now, let me look at, and it may be great for 3 of them and not good for the 4th one. And even
that there's like 3 or 4 supplements that when taken together are just amazing, or it might be they're good separately, but you put them together and there's a funkiness.
So we always look at that and we use it as a diagnostic skill. So, you know, we always have our theory of where we want to take the body next, and should it be able to help have a nice immune system? Should it be able to breathe appropriately? And then we try to put them, we stack them on what we call it here, and we do it individually, and then we try to mix and match. And so we get the best bioavailability. And Ralph, you know, that was really surprising to all the nutrition companies that we first were introduced to, that with that relationship to the person's body, we could use half of the amount and get 4 times the power, because we weren't just throwing, I call it throwing spaghetti against the refrigerator to see if it's sticky or not at that point, right? So we go back to ancient times of really getting and seeing the pulse of the person and those processes, right? We want to make everybody's awareness strong as possible. So one thing I tell people to do, which I'm trying to teach everybody, is you can get a Diet Coke and a bottle of Pellegrino, and you put your hand on your liver, and I call it the squish test. You just move the liver back and forth, and then you touch the Pellegrino. It should actually get softer because Pellegrino has really good minerals in it.
Yeah.
And then if you touch the Diet Coke, it should actually lock up and be as hard as a rock.
Yeah.
So now you have a reference of poison versus good stuff. And then I teach people to go shopping that way. Put one in each side of your cart, and then you go grab the grapefruit to see which way it goes for you.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I didn't use the mobility test of the liver. That's cool.
And that's kind of easy, and you don't look really strange when you're doing it.
Yeah, like
Giving yourself a hug.
yeah, very cool.
So,
That's a good test. And I want everybody to know on the link to the show, there's some gifts that Tom gave us as far as some of the homework to detox yourself with hand positions. So look for that too.
And if you don't mind putting up, we wrote a white paper on, we called it Winter Essentials on the coronavirus.
Oh, I'll put it up.
Great.
Yeah, I'll put it up. I'll put it up right after this.
Yeah. So that's my gift of having people be aware that, you know, we've been dealing with the corona type viruses since it was called SARS and the bird flu back then. And immune regen is one of the biggest tools that we have. And just trying, you know, you open up the morning news and you just listen, and everybody's being scared, paranoid. I do think it could be an illness, and you know, all the healthcare professionals here and we're looking across the world are, you know, the prevalence of this versus the flu. The flu this year has more of a death rate than the coronavirus per illness of being sick with it. But our immune regen was designed and developed for the purpose of supporting the question, why did your immune system get sick and these other people didn't? You know,
Yeah.
if you have 100 people in a room and not everybody's getting sick, then it means that somebody's immune system is healthy and supportive of that. And what are the tools that broke that down that you got sick? Even, you know, we go back to that discussion with Lyme's, we go do that with thyroid issues. All those are what energy did you not have to overcome that process, and how do we reverse that?
Yeah, this could be a whole discussion too, but your thoughts on like, if you or I drank a pint of whiskey and smoked a pack of cigarettes, we would feel really, really, really bad. Somebody who's used to doing that would just feel normal now. So, but they're not healthier than you and I, even though we can't tolerate that. Any thoughts on that? And it's just an interesting idea. I think of it with gluten too. Like some people seem to just eat whatever they want, and yet you and I definitely try to steer everybody to get off of gluten because it seems to be a very important thing, and the research supports that. But any thoughts about that?
Well, I feel that there's lack of knowledge and communication of what is healthy and not healthy. You know, we have people thinking having an aspirin every day or having a big bottle of Tylenol that they have to buy every week at CVS is normal. And we feel, I know, Ralph, you were a marathon runner, and I don't think there's many marathon runners that can have a whole bottle of wine or whiskey every day and still be at the performance level that they want to be. So our definition of normal is a very strange component.
Very normal. Yeah.
Right. So I don't know many marathoners that are smoking a pack a day and doing it at the same, that they can run 26 miles in under 2.5, 3 hours and be there. So if you look at a Porsche, it doesn't really run on bad gas, right? And have the performance there.
Performance, yeah.
Our range of health in the United States is if I get up in the morning and I can tie my shoelaces, and that's even a question because now we have Velcro. Is that healthy or not? You know, I just evaluated an 80-year-old man for Parkinson's and myasthenia gravis issues, and he feels he's working 4 hours a day, and Nancy and I are looking at him and saying, well, he's short of breath. He can't even stand for 45 seconds, but he thinks he's healthy because he's not in the wheelchair anymore.
There's something about his mindset, but it would be cool to get him healthier even with that.
And my goal was, can I get you to go for a 5-mile walk with your wife and not be short of breath? Wouldn't that be cool? And that's where we hope to take him. But right now he has to sit, and I take photographs of their posture, and that takes maybe 3.5 minutes, and he had to sit down after a minute and a half because he just was so deconditioned, so much in the hospital. So that variance of what is normal and what people tolerate as normal, and to ask that same person that's eating Doritos and a 6-pack of Coke a day, Coca-Cola, are they running the mile, or can they run the mile? Can they tolerate that whole piece?
Yeah.
Right? So
what the system can do. I remember working with Jen's dad for about 3.5 months, and he went from being where he couldn't lay flat. He had to sleep with 5 pillows under him, and he had sleep apnea and a bunch of other stuff. And he got to where he could lay flat, and he felt younger than he was when he was a young guy. So it's amazing.
Yeah, we put our bodies aside, and we also feed our pets better than we feed ourselves sometimes, right?
Yeah. In the psychological world, if you really looked at how bad you were performing, then you'd have to do something about it. So if you don't want to feel that, then you can it'll tolerate that. And I know you guys can't tolerate going into a restaurant, somebody smoking a cigarette, you feel sick after being there 10 minutes, right? So yeah, well, that's good. That's good to kind of just put out there
in perspective. Yeah.
I have one more question about an iodine thing. There's that old remedy, Lugol's, I think it's called. Are you familiar with that?
It's a combo of iodine and iodide.
What do you think of that as a thing for some people?
Again, I've seen them work for a number of different people. I don't feel comfortable saying that's the best one out there.
Okay.
Because this is a sensitive subject that if they're depleted in iodine, they're probably depleted in a lot of other minerals at the same time. So go slow. And if you do get heart palpitations and irritations and things like that, it just may be not the right product, but the oligoiodides are also a different flavor, and they work for a third of the people, and another third they don't work for. So it's all on how does that person's chemistry individually do it, but it's been around and it's useful, and people have felt better on it. And start with 1 drop of liquid iodine in a glass of water, and you may feel better with that whole process too.
Well, cool. That's really good.
It really scares me once in a while to see Amazon have all these hundreds of vitamins on there. And 1, they may be very good, and 2, they may be just half products, and that somebody's selling, and you don't know the references.
Yeah. There's a lot of stuff I've seen in the news that what's on the label isn't really what's in the bottle, and a lot of that stuff.
Yeah.
And it goes back to having a way to test to see, is this version good or not for you? I remember a chiropractor years ago thought we should be on iodine, but the thing he was recommending just didn't test well for me. So we said, no, for some reason it doesn't test. So, but that didn't mean the iodine was not good. It just meant
may not be good for your And you've mentioned that you're very sensitive to fluorides, and that may have been the precursor, because iodine is a salt. It is an ion that separates very easily. So you don't know what the salt is that you're mixing it with. So that other metal that has to be connected to it can be separate and irritated at the same time. So, and that's the coolness about everybody as an individual. And there are some miracle cures that just even the thought of iodine is going to help somebody, and then you have to go to the different separations of the different flavors of it.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm going to answer a question for Beth because it was in the earlier part of the video about would you recommend a blood test to see how much iodine to take or just start at a low amount? And Tom was talking about you can watch the beginning of the video, or you can talk a little bit more in a bit, but there's a way to put a little iodine on your body and see how fast it goes away. And if it doesn't go away overnight, then you've got a pretty good level. If it goes away pretty quick, you can add some in, and amounts that he was recommending were 12 milligrams up to 25 or so. But that's a good test. There's also a test you can do, a urine test, that's a little more involved. But yeah,
you can type in on the internet iodine skin absorption test, and it actually describes some ways to look at it.
Great. And then Tom also has a 15-minute consult if you want to interact with him. So IMTwellness.com, right?
info@imtwellnesscenter.com.
info@imtwellnesscenter.com. So imtwellnesscenter.com is the site, and we've got it on our email thing, but I'll make sure it's up. Let me just go grab that right now, actually.
Yeah.
And
if you make available the winter essentials about the coronavirus and how we have this whole paper and some body work to teach people how to stay safer during these times of.
I'll put it up on the site. I'll put it up on the site and make sure everybody gets it. So I'm going to post that in here. IMTwellnesscenter.com. Yeah, so that's a great gift for everybody to have a 15-minute consult. I took 110 classes over 10 years in that and talked to Tom every week. So I highly recommend meeting with Tom. So
Okay.
yeah, well, awesome, Tom. Good. Have a great time at winter school. I will be back in that heading over there at some point again. It's been a long time since I've been to Connecticut.
Yeah. Well, I hope maybe we can do something in the fall together on even the West Coast.
That'd be
How about
awesome. That'd be awesome. We kept you a long time, so thank you for that. Anything else you want to say, or it's been great to have you on.
Be well, and wishing everybody a healthy week, and we'll talk next week. How about that?
Awesome, Tom. Thank you. Thank you so much. Have a good one.
Bye, Ralph.
Bye. All right, everybody. So that's Tom Giammatteo. Highly recommend you interact with him. And so many kids are having trouble these days. And if it's something that you kind of want to talk to him about, there's ways to become a practitioner for your own child. And that's how a lot of integrative manual therapy practitioners started back many years ago when I first started with them. And there's a lot of stuff you can do even if you don't become a practitioner. So I'll put that on the link for everybody. So welcome. So glad you've been here, and I will see you guys all next week. All right, bye now.